Alexandra Morgan froze as the small, dirt-smudged girl tugged at her designer coat outside the skyscraper. "I don't have mama. Can I spend a day with you, ma'am?" the child asked. But it wasn't the request that made Alexandra's blood run cold, it was the child's eyes. The exact same unusual amber color as her own. The same eyes that stared back from her late sister's photographs, the sister whose daughter had vanished 7 years ago after the accident that had claimed both parents. "What's your name?" Alexandra whispered, her voice barely audible above the bustling Manhattan street. The empire she'd built, the billions she'd amassed, none of it mattered in this moment. Her security team moved to intervene, but she waved them back with a trembling hand. The child clutched a worn teddy bear missing one eye, identical to the one Alexandra had given her niece on her 3rd birthday. If this was truly her sister's daughter, where had she been all these years? And why appear now, just days after someone had attempted to poison Alexandra at her company's gala? "Lily," the girl answered softly. "The people at the home call me Lily." Alexandra's heart thundered in her chest. Lily, her niece's name. The child who, according to police reports, had died alongside her parents. The inheritance that would have gone to this child had instead funded Alexandra's first major business venture. The venture that had made her billions. The child's reappearance could cost Alexandra everything, her fortune, her reputation, possibly even her freedom if anyone discovered what really happened the night of the accident. Alexandra made a split-second decision. "Come with me," she said, taking the girl's small hand. Her assistant gasped in protest, but Alexandra silenced him with a look. As they entered the private elevator to her penthouse office, Alexandra studied the child's features. The resemblance was undeniable. Questions raced through her mind: who had been keeping Lily? Who knew she was alive? And most importantly, did they know what Alexandra had done? For 7 years, Alexandra had lived with the guilt of that rainy night. The argument with her sister about the family business, the threats she'd made in anger, the car she'd seen go off the bridge as she'd driven away. She'd convinced herself it was an accident, that she wasn't responsible. The empire she'd built afterward was her penance. Success in honor of her sister's memory. But if Lily was alive, if someone knew the truth. The child seemed oblivious to Alexandra's internal turmoil. "Your building is so tall," Lily remarked, pressing her face against the glass elevator. "Do you live in the clouds?" The innocence in her voice cut through Alexandra like a knife. This child had no idea who she really was, or what Alexandra had done. By the time they reached the penthouse, Alexandra had composed herself. "Are you hungry?" she asked, leading Lily to the kitchen where her personal chef awaited instructions. The girl nodded eagerly, her eyes widening at the luxurious surroundings. As the chef prepared a meal, Alexandra discreetly texted her head of security, "Find out everything about a girl named Lily in foster care. Urgent." Over lunch, Alexandra carefully questioned the child. Lily explained she lived at Sunshine Children's Home, had for as long as she could remember. She'd seen Alexandra on television yesterday, a feature about powerful women in business, and had somehow convinced a sympathetic nurse to help her visit the famous businesswoman. "You looked kind," Lily said simply. "And your eyes are like mine." Alexandra's phone buzzed with a message from security: Lily Peterson, age 10. Admitted to Sunshine Home as unidentified trauma victim 7 years ago. Partial amnesia. No known relatives. Recent interest from adoption agency called Second Chance Family Placements. Alexandra's blood ran cold. Second Chance was owned by Victor Harmon, her former business partner who she'd forced out of the company 5 years ago, a man who had sworn revenge. "Would you like to see my office?" Alexandra asked, her mind racing. As she showed Lily around, pointing out the view of Central Park, her security chief appeared at the door, motioning urgently. "Excuse me one moment," she told Lily, stepping outside. Ma'am, there's more, he said quietly. The adoption agency filed paperwork yesterday. They've found a DNA match for the girl. They're coming to collect her tomorrow with the authorities. He hesitated. And there's something else. The match isn't you, it's registered to someone named Claire Morgan. Alexandra gripped the doorframe to steady herself. Claire Morgan. The alias she'd used years ago when she'd given a DNA sample to a private detective, hoping to confirm her niece's death. That's impossible, she whispered. I am the only living Morgan. There's more, her security chief continued. Victor Harmon was spotted entering the police station this morning. He had documents with him. Alexandra glanced through the glass wall at Lily, who was spinning in the executive chair, laughing. In that moment, Alexandra knew she had hours, perhaps minutes, before her carefully constructed life imploded. Victor must have discovered the truth about the accident. He was using Lily to destroy her. Returning to the office, Alexandra made another impulsive decision. Lily, how would you like to go on an adventure? Right now? The girl's eyes lit up. Within minutes, Alexandra had her private helicopter preparing for takeoff from the building's helipad. Her plan was desperate. Take Lily to her secluded lake house upstate, figure out what Victor knew, and somehow make this right. As they boarded the helicopter, Alexandra caught sight of police cars pulling up to the building's entrance. Her phone rang, Victor's number. She declined the call, helping Lily with her seatbelt instead. The helicopter lifted off just as officers emerged onto the roof. During the flight, Lily fell asleep against Alexandra's shoulder. Looking down at the child's peaceful face, Alexandra felt something she hadn't experienced in years, a profound connection. This wasn't just about saving herself anymore. This was about protecting her sister's daughter, the niece she'd thought was lost forever. The lake house was exactly as Alexandra had left it, a modernist structure of glass and steel nestled among ancient trees. As Lily explored the house with wide-eyed wonder, Alexandra poured herself a drink and tried to think. Her phone had dozens of missed calls, her lawyer, her executive team, Victor, unknown numbers. News alerts were beginning to appear. Billionaire CEO Alexandra Morgan flees with kidnapped child. Is this your vacation home? Lily asked, returning to the living room. It's beautiful. Something like that, Alexandra replied, studying the child's face. Lily, I need to ask you something important. Do you remember anything about your parents? Anything at all from before the children's home? Lily's expression clouded. Sometimes I dream about a woman singing to me. And rain. Lots of rain and loud noises. She clutched her teddy bear tighter. The doctors said I might never remember. Alexandra knelt before her. What if I told you I might know who you are? Who your family was? Before Lily could answer, headlights swept across the windows. Alexandra's security system pinged, someone had breached the perimeter gate. She quickly led Lily to a hidden panic room behind the bookcase. Stay here, she instructed. Don't come out until I get you. Alexandra faced the front door just as it burst open. Victor Harmon stood there, flanked by 2 police officers. It's over, Alexandra, he said. I know everything. About the argument, about how you ran your sister's car off the bridge. How you let everyone believe the child died too when you knew she'd been thrown clear. That's not what happened, Alexandra said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I never knew Lily survived. I thought she died with my sister and brother-in-law. Save it for court, Victor sneered. I have witnesses who saw you at the hospital that night, checking on a Jane Doe child before disappearing. You knew she was alive, but with her out of the way, you inherited everything. One of the officers stepped forward. Ms. Morgan, we have a warrant for your arrest. Where is the child? Alexandra's mind raced. Everything was falling apart. Her company would collapse when this scandal broke. Her life's work, destroyed. Yet strangely, her thoughts weren't on her empire, but on Lily, the child who had somehow survived, who deserved to know the truth. "Before you take me anywhere," Alexandra said, "there's something you need to see." She walked to her desk and unlocked a hidden drawer, removing a sealed envelope. "This is my sister's letter to me, written the day before she died. Read it." Victor snatched the envelope, tearing it open. As he read, his triumphant expression faltered. The letter detailed Alexandra's sister's plan to leave the country with her husband and daughter, to escape mounting debts and threats from business associates, including Victor himself. It mentioned a life insurance policy naming Alexandra as beneficiary, intended to repay what they'd borrowed from her. "This proves nothing," Victor said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Check the date stamp and authentication," Alexandra replied. "And then ask yourself why I kept this hidden all these years instead of using it to destroy you." While the officers examined the letter, Alexandra continued. "I argued with my sister that night, yes. I was angry she was leaving. But I never followed their car. I was across town at a meeting, with 20 witnesses. The accident was just that, an accident. And I never knew Lily survived." The panic room door creaked open. Lily stood there, tears streaming down her face. "I remember now," she whispered. "The rain. The bridge. My mom saying your name, Alexandra will take care of you if anything happens." She looked at Victor with surprising clarity. "And I remember you. You came to our house that night. You were yelling." Victor lunged toward the child, but the officers restrained him. "She's lying. She can't possibly remember." Children with traumatic amnesia often recover memories when triggered by familiar environments or conversations, one officer noted. "We'll need to question everyone properly." Hours later, Alexandra sat in her living room, a blanket around her shoulders. The police had taken Victor away after finding evidence on his phone linking him to threats against Alexandra's sister years ago. The truth was more complicated than anyone had imagined. Victor had been blackmailing Alexandra's sister and brother-in-law, had possibly even tampered with their car. When he discovered Lily had survived, he'd hidden her away in the children's home under a false identity, waiting for the right moment to use her against Alexandra. Lily sat beside Alexandra, her small hand in the billionaire's larger one. "What happens now?" she asked. Alexandra looked down at her niece, her sister's child, her own blood. "Now we get to know each other," she said softly. "If you want to." Lily nodded, leaning against Alexandra's shoulder. "I'd like that." In the days that followed, Alexandra's life transformed. The media storm eventually subsided as the truth emerged. Her company weathered the scandal, emerging stronger with a new focus on children's welfare and family support services. Alexandra established a foundation in her sister's name to help children in foster care. And most importantly, after proper legal proceedings, Alexandra became Lily's guardian. The penthouse that had once felt empty despite its luxury now echoed with a child's laughter. The billionaire who had everything discovered the one thing money couldn't buy: family. One evening, as they sat on the balcony watching the sunset over Manhattan, Lily asked, "Are you happy I found you that day?" Alexandra smiled, tears in her amber eyes that matched her niece's. "It was the most important day of my life," she answered truthfully. "You reminded me of what really matters." Like the unexpected second chance they'd been given, sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that find us when we least expect them, stories that remind us to cherish every moment with those we love. The transition wasn't always smooth. There were nights when Lily woke screaming from nightmares about the accident, memories returning in jagged, painful fragments. Alexandra would rush to her room, holding her until the trembling stopped. These moments forged a bond between them that transcended their complicated past. Alexandra, who had once measured success in acquisitions and profit margins, now found herself learning to braid hair and discuss favorite ice cream flavors with the same intensity she once reserved for board meetings. 6 months after Lily came into her life, Alexandra faced her most challenging business decision yet. Her company had an opportunity to expand globally, but it would require extensive travel and months away from home. Before Lily, she wouldn't have hesitated. Now, watching her niece carefully construct a science project at the kitchen table, tongue caught between her teeth in concentration, Alexandra made a different choice. She restructured the company, delegated the international expansion, and created a new work-from-home policy that benefited not just herself but hundreds of parents in her employ. "You've changed," remarked her CFO during a quarterly review, not unkindly. The Alexandra Morgan I knew would have been on the first flight to Singapore. Alexandra smiled, glancing at the new family photo on her desk. "I haven't changed," she replied. "I've just remembered who I was always meant to be." The media eventually dubbed them the Billionaire and the Orphan, a modern fairy tale that captured public imagination. Alexandra declined most interview requests but agreed to one thoughtful profile that focused on foster care reform. The resulting article sparked a national conversation about children lost in the system. When Lily read it, she looked up at Alexandra with determination in her eyes. "We should help other kids like me," she said. Alexandra nodded, already envisioning the foundation that would become their shared mission. On the anniversary of their first meeting, Alexandra surprised Lily with a trip to the beach. Not some exclusive private island, but the same public shoreline where Alexandra's family had vacationed when she and her sister were children. They built sandcastles, collected shells, and ate slightly sandy sandwiches. As the sun began to set, Lily placed her small hand over Alexandra's. "I think my mom would be happy," she said simply. Alexandra couldn't speak past the lump in her throat, but she squeezed Lily's hand in silent agreement. The following spring, Alexandra found herself sitting in the front row of Lily's school auditorium, camera ready, as her niece took the stage for the 5th grade talent show. Lily had chosen to play a piece on the violin, the same instrument Alexandra's sister had loved. The melody was hesitant at first, then grew stronger, filling the room with bittersweet notes that seemed to bridge past and present. Alexandra noticed she wasn't the only one wiping away tears when Lily finished. The standing ovation made the girl beam with pride, her eyes immediately seeking out her aunt in the crowd. "Did you see Mr. Whiskers?" Lily asked later, referring to the teddy bear she'd propped in the front row beside Alexandra. The once ragged toy had been carefully restored, its missing eye replaced, though Lily had insisted they keep the original worn patches as memories. "He was the most attentive audience member," Alexandra assured her, helping Lily pack away her violin. "Your mother played that same song at her high school recital." Lily's eyes widened. "Really? Do you think I play like her?" Alexandra tucked a strand of hair behind Lily's ear. "You play like yourself, which is even better. But yes, you have her talent." The Morgan Foundation's first major initiative launched that summer, a program that paired foster children with mentors from various professional fields. Alexandra had been surprised by how eagerly her business contacts volunteered their time. The same executives who had once seemed interested only in profit margins now spent weekends teaching teenagers about finance, technology, and entrepreneurship. Lily, despite her young age, had insisted on being involved, often sitting in on planning meetings and offering what Alexandra came to recognize as remarkably insightful suggestions. "You're raising a future CEO," commented Alexandra's assistant after Lily had diplomatically resolved a disagreement between two foundation board members. Alexandra shook her head. "I'm raising a compassionate human being. Whatever she becomes is up to her." The legal battle with Victor Harmon concluded with his conviction not just for his crimes against Alexandra's family but for financial fraud that had victimized dozens of others. On the day of the sentencing, Alexandra had debated attending but ultimately decided against it. "The past doesn't deserve any more of our time," she told Lily as they instead spent the day volunteering at a children's hospital, reading stories to patients. That night, as Alexandra tucked Lily into bed, the girl asked a question that had clearly been weighing on her mind. Are you ever sad you don't have your own kids? Like, ones that were always yours? Alexandra sat on the edge of the bed, considering her answer carefully. I spent years thinking I needed to build something that would outlast me, that's why I created my company. But now I understand that the most important legacy isn't what you build, it's who you love. She smoothed Lily's blanket. You weren't always mine, but you were always meant to be mine. That's better than anything I could have planned.